Hello and welcome to So You Want to Be a Protog. Let's check and see if you are ready to launch. The only difference between a professional photographer and a photographer is a paycheck. And what I mean by that is that if you have been given money to perform the services of a photographer, so to take somebody's picture, you, my friend, are a professional, and it's about time you start acting like one. Now, you may be here for a couple of reasons. Maybe that reason is that you are just somebody who has wanted to always take pictures. It's a hobby of yours, but you're looking to maybe transition this into a career. The other reason you might be here is because you are already a photographer, but you're really struggling with making money, with maybe stopping this from just being a side hustle and really making it full-time, or perhaps you are full-time and you're just like chasing your own tail. So meaning you're exhausted, you're just really kind of burning out. And so those are the three kind of people that I'm speaking to here. And if you're just happen to be a really successful photographer and you just happen to be here taking this course, there might be something missing for you. And if that's you, I hope you're able to find it. I hope there's something in here that you're able to take away from this course for you. So just a couple of facts about me. My name is Mary. I have been a photographer for most of my life. And, but I've only been a professional for about 8 years, meaning I've only started taking money for what I do for the past 8 years. So I think everybody honestly is innately a photographer. We all have the ability to take pictures. We have smartphones in our pockets. So everybody, in a sense, is a photographer of their own. But again, a professional is somebody who's a business owner, not just a photographer, but a business owner, and who's making this be an actual career versus just something to do for fun. So I've had lots of portraits under my belt, hundreds and actually probably thousands at this point. And I started out shooting anything or anyone that would let me, because that's kind of what I was told. I was told if you want to be a photographer, just start practicing, and everything else, that's where you start. But I never really got any other guidance. And I'm going to, dip into that a little bit more. But basically, my portrait studio is here in Green Bay, Wisconsin. My focus is on moms and women in all stages of life, celebrating them through boudoir, business, and family portraits. I like to call myself the photographer for the insecure, in the brokenhearted, because that's kind of where my past has led me up, and that's my target market. We also have a team of employees. So I have a team of employees. So I have 3 employees, a retoucher, a hair and makeup artist, and then I also have a videographer as well. I have the hottest husband in the world and the most confident 3 daughters from ages 4, 8, and 13. A little bit about me. Okay. Here's some example of the family work that I do. So again, I am a natural light photographer, but I also use artificial. I can use any light. Honestly, I can use strobes, I can use flash, whatever the case might be. But I do have a natural light studio facing the north. So I have lots of beautiful, yummy lighting in my studio. Here's some examples of some of the families that I do. I love doing generational shoots. I have lots of business professionals that walk through here, stuff that I do on site as well. So that's more of the branding side of things. And then boudoir is honestly something I do. Probably 85% of my business revenue comes from this type of beauty work here. So a lot of women that suffer from body image issues come into my studio, and we work through that. I've also had the opportunity to be able to photograph some local celebrities, because in living in Green Bay, we obviously have the Green Bay Packers, go Pack go. And so we have, over on the left here, we have Devin Adams, and then on the right here, we have Heaven Daniels. Both of their husbands played. Heaven's husband is now with Detroit, but Miss Devin, you might know Devontae Adams is her husband, and he plays for the Packers. So she was in here last year getting some pictures of her. I swear to God, her daughter is like a doll. And Heaven's always bringing her beauty. So lots of beautiful, beautiful people who come into the studio, that I get the chance to work with, which is a lot of fun. So I just want to introduce you to my team. On the left here is Priscilla. She's my videographer and assistant. And then we have Madison, who is the hair and makeup artist, and she also helps with retouching and social media marketing stuff. And then I have Jody over here on the right, who is my retoucher. I wanted to give you guys a glimpse of kind of the experience that we create here in the studio. And the reason you might be wondering, well, why is she showing us all this stuff? The reason I'm showing it to you is because one of the best pieces of advice that I can give you right now is you want to find somebody who can mentor you according to what you are attracted to. So I'm showing you these things because you're going to find out there's 1 or 2 things happening here. Either this is super interesting to you and you're like totally aligned with it, or it's not you at all. And so I want you to be able to see that, to know, have that recognition of this is something that I want to provide or that I'm really attracted to and that's inspiring me, and or it's something that I just can't stand. Like I'd rather shoot birds and nature. And if that's you, that's okay too. Still doesn't mean that you shouldn't be charging accordingly for your services and for commercial work, etc. But I think it's just really important to, talk about these things and let you see the experience that we offer here, because obviously this is something I know a little thing about. So here we do, a full experience with our portrait sessions. So we offer things like drinks, and we offer things like product and wardrobe styling and in-person ordering appointments, and a full squad essentially to take care of our everyday, people and make them feel like local celebrities. I also wanted to share with you real quick on the left, this is my daughter. And I want to show you progression because I think it's really important. On the left, I was only a photographer for maybe a couple of years. And then on the right here just kind of shows my growth even exponentially after getting somebody to mentor me. And I think that's really important because I know when I first started, my work was crap. It was just crap. So it wasn't great, but at least I was doing, I was capturing things for people. But on the left here shows kind of what my skill set was prior to me hiring and actually investing in professional help to be able to get me to where I am here to the right. So this is like pre and post education, formal education. On the left is what I was able to figure out how to do off YouTube. On the right is what I ended up with after actually investing in somebody who could take the time to teach me how to do some of these things. So I just want to show you, the importance of investing in yourself and how much it can exponentially have an effect on your work, both, in the business realm and just in your skill set and your mastery skills here with photography. Okay. So a couple of things I wish I would have known before I had gotten started, and just in general, just when I got started, was the business education. Again, so many times I was learning how to use my camera on YouTube. You can go on TikTok now and learn, all these little tips and tricks for posing and all of that. But what you're not really finding is the business side, education side. You're not learning how to negotiate. You're not learning how to really market. And that's where a lot, honestly, I have to do all of those things in order to do the most important thing, which is to actually shoot and create a product. But if I don't know how to get people into my door and how to tailor all of that, then I'm not going to be shooting much, or I'm going to be, just kind of flying by the seat of my pants. And that's what I did, honestly, for the first 4 years of my business. Flew by the seat of my pants. I really wish that there was the community over competition. Now that's getting so much better now. It's, still struggles a bit. I feel like everybody's kind of, on the fence about sharing knowledge and information. But I really feel that when you share knowledge and information with others, there's nothing to be worried about as far as competition, because you're never going to be me and I'm never going to be you. No matter how much our businesses are aligned, people are attracted to themselves. And that's the beauty of having people be different, is that we get to have our own catered audience and our own catered clients that are aligned with us. And I really wish I would have had friends in the industry when I first got started. So I want to recommend to you to join some of these Facebook groups that are out there. There are so many business groups, Professional Photographers of America, there's WPPI, there's so many groups that you can get involved in to get started with, actually having some help. So I'm going to come back here because my computer's kind of being weird, and I just apologize. I'm going to keep running with it because I've been trying to get this thing recorded for a while yet, so I want to just kind of get through it. So what do you need to get started? You need a paper, you need a pen, and you need a dream, my friend. I know we'll dig into the nit and gritty in just a few moments of just kind of like the basics of your foundation, but what I really want to do is I want to give you some journal prompts. I want to give you some questions that I need you to answer, because I think once you figure these things out, it'll be so much easier to create a business plan and to really, nail some of these things out. So what do you want? That's something I want you to ask. What do I want? Do I want to work full time? Do I want to, what is it that you're looking to do with this? What kind of lifestyle? What photographers inspire me in the industry? So do I inspire you? Do I not inspire you? Sometimes you don't know who inspires you, but you know who you don't want to be. So you can always start there if you're struggling with getting, on who I want to have my work who inspires me and I admire. How many hours do you want to work each week? Do you want this to be a full-time thing, or are you happy with it just being a side gig? Is photography something that you want to do, like I said, to do full-time? I think that's the biggest thing, and I feel like a lot of people feel that they can't. One of the myths, and I'm going to tell you right now, the myths that I believed was that I could not be a full-time photographer unless I did weddings, and that is so not true. So for those of you who would rather die 1,000 deaths than spend every weekend of your life photographing weddings, and that's why you've dipped out of the photography industry, my friend, I do not shoot weddings anymore, and I'm a 6-figure business. So I just want you to say that to yourself. I don't have to shoot weddings if I don't want to. If it's what you love, then totally do it. What do I want to do with what do you want your lifestyle to look like is the next question I want you to answer. Meaning, do you want to take vacations? Do you want to save for your retirement? Do you want to be able to, have some wiggle room in your life to, live comfortably? Or do you love living paycheck to paycheck? And I don't know. But for me, I think these are some really great questions to ask yourself. And what I mean by paycheck to paycheck is maybe you have a spouse or a significant other that has, a sustainable income, and this is just kind of like a fun little thing for you to do, and maybe you're raising a family right now, so you don't really want to go full head on. So these are things to think about, because what I'm going to say in the next few slides is probably going to overwhelm you a little bit on what it actually takes to run a business, and so you're going to figure it out real quick if this is something that you truly want to steam forward with or make adjustments with. What genre do I love? Do you love boudoir? Do you love family portraits? Do you love lifestyle images? Do you love weddings? Do you love nature? Do you love sports? Do you love commercial, like shooting food? I mean, what is it that you love to do? And how much money do I want to make that will support the lifestyle that I want to live? So think about that right now. What is your current income that you're making? Is that something that you want to continue making? Is that something you want to increase? Because maybe you are living, paycheck to paycheck and you just are over it. So let's talk about the business plan. Now we're going to get into some nit and gritty. I'm probably going to overwhelm you, and I'm just going to say this in advance because I don't want you to quit on me here. I mean, let's just get through it. Let's figure it out. And then you can make a decision at the end if this is going to be something that you want to, like I said, keep going with. So a business plan is the who, what, where, when, and why of a business. So let's lay out specifically photography. But if you're here and you're listening just because maybe you're not a photographer, but you want to, this is for any business. This is just some fundamentals here, but I happen to know what some of the numbers are or kind of ranges are to kind of get started and to get your baseline things taken care of so you can actually feel good, you can be protected, you can be legitimate, and that in itself is going to give you so much more confidence. I promise you that. Currently right now it is 2020 and we are in the midst of a pandemic, y'all. And so what I want to say to you is that, it's so important to be legitimate and do things the right way, because there's so many people who are getting burned right now because they didn't do things the right way and they can't prove income. And, so it's never good to cut corners, because when crap gets real, it's so important to be legitimate. Okay, so let's get into the equipment that you're going to need. You want to buy used. If you already have stuff, good. Maybe just kind of use this as a checklist to see if you've got everything you need. If you've already taken out a loan or you've already bought the nice camera and you didn't buy, don't feel bad if you didn't buy used. I'm just saying that I wish somebody would have told me to buy used in the first place, so I could have actually maybe gotten a better camera, even if it was used, to be able to kind of get started with. So you're going to need a camera body, which you can pick any one that you want to. Nikon, Canon, Sony, there's a few other Fujifilms. There's so many out there. I personally shoot with Nikon and Canon. So Canon is more, I do shoot images with Canon, but not really. I shoot more, Nikon was my first camera. Canon is something I got because I expanded out into doing more videography, and it just was a little bit more user-friendly for both. I personally like Nikon because I feel like the tones in the skin are a little bit more forgiving versus Canon, where they're a little bit more punchy. So they're a little bit more contrasty and there's more color going on there. So you can kind of expect to spend anywhere between, $500 to $1,000. Those numbers aren't exact, you guys. Those might be above, those might be less. But the camera body is something that you're going to need. And I highly recommend, if you're looking to be professional, to go ahead and just get a full frame, because you're going to end up upgrading it anyways. You're going to want to be able to have the ability to have some more not dimension, but variability with your equipment. You're going to want to be able to push it to the limit and not have to worry about that. And that's something that we can get into details, following up with you on. Those are some camera basics, but just trust me. Know that a full frame camera is not a semi-professional. You want to go ahead and get a professional camera just because you want to be able to make sure your equipment can do what it needs to do. So a lens, you're going to need a lens or two, but even one is fine. You don't need to have multiple lenses right off the bat. So a 50 millimeter, those are usually the cheapest ones, and the ones that are these prime lenses are really nice glass, and so they're going to give you nice sharp images. It's less about, your image quality is really less about the camera body, in my personal opinion. Now, some might think differently than I do, but I think that the lens is way more important on the sharpness and the quality of your images over the camera body. The body's kind of like the house, and the lens itself is the thing that does all the dirty work. So you want to have something that looks really nice. So a 50 millimeter lens can run you about $200, and you can get your f-stop to go down to like 1.8, which is basically, the lower that number is, the crazier blurred out your background can be. It's just layman's terms here. And then a 35 millimeter lens is also probably my favorite lens to shoot with, just because I know it's not a traditional portrait lens, but I use it for the fact that it does create some illusions for the women that I shoot to help them feel a little bit more, secure in front of the lens, and give that a slimming effect for them that they crave so much, and just to give them that little boost of confidence. Plus, I also shoot in a 200 square foot studio space, so it's small. So having a lens that has the ability to capture more area is super helpful, so I don't have to worry about that. A zoom lens might be better if you're looking, so those are the ones that you can kind of dial in and dial out if you're looking to do more events and wedding work. So, you don't want to have a prime lens and you're up in the face of the bride and groom as they're trying to exchange their vows. You want to be able to stay back and give them that space, but you still want to be able to get up close and personal with the details. So that's where a zoom lens, or sports work, or even nature, a zoom lens might be better for you, or a telephoto is what it might be called. Those are going to get pricey. So that's why I say, sticking to a 50 millimeter, 35, just to kind of get started is great. But keep in mind, again, go back to your dream. What is it that you're looking to do? But you can expect to spend anywhere between $200 and $500 there. The other thing is you're going to need a computer. I honestly suggest a desktop over a laptop if you're buying used, especially if you're buying used, because laptops, they're only able to handle so much. And knowing the software of things like Photoshop and Lightroom and all of that, and then the size of the images, your laptop's going to get bogged down rather quickly. Yes, there's backup drives and ways that you can do this without it doing that, but it's kind of a headache. So it's kind of nice to just have the extra space in the RAM drive. I've personally bought tons of used computers. I bought one new one for myself, and then I bought subsequential used laptops and iMacs for my staff. So they work just fine. And I prefer them because they just work faster. So expect to spend anywhere between, $500 to $1,000. The iMac that I got used was about $1,000. The MacBook Pro that I got used was about $500. So, there's a couple of numbers for you there. External hard drives, you can, I would get 2 of them. So that way you can back up 3 times. And those you'll be spending anywhere between $100 and $300. You can find them for less than that. You don't need to have a huge, 4 terabyte or whatever backup drive. You can have smaller ones. So you can go cheaper there if you'd like to. Editing software, Adobe is the one that I recommend, because now you don't have to buy the whole thing. When I first got started, there was no subscriptions. So running a photography business back even 7-8 years ago was so much different now than it is today. So adobe.com has beautiful subscriptions. You can get the whole suite and try out all the programs for like $50 a month. Otherwise, just the basic photography suite is $9.99 a month for Photoshop and Lightroom. So startup costs for equipment to complete jobs is about anywhere between $1,300 and $2,800. And if you were to take that amount, that's the amount that I would say that you would want to, if you haven't bought any equipment, etc., that you'd want to save up. And, you can purchase these things little by little. And there's other things that you can do to kind of hack your way through this if you need to. But, if you were to space that out in the first year of business, because we're going to talk numbers. We're going to talk some math. That would be an average of about $109 to $234 a month. So we're just taking that 1310 and that 2810 and we're dividing it by 12 because we're just kind of looking to kind of get some basic monthly numbers for you to figure out what your monthly average sale would need to be. And we're going to talk about that later. I don't want to confuse you too much now, but we're going to get into that later. So remember, here's the thing. Don't feel bad if you're buying used. It doesn't mean you're a cheapskate, but it actually just means you're being smart because you know that you can always upgrade later to newer equipment. You can always use what you have to make the money that you need and then be able to upgrade later as you need to. So just remember that it's not forever. It's just for now and it's going to get the job done. And then you can always make those advancements that you need to make. So here we are, guys. We're going to go to the next slide. Number 2, legal stuff. So before you start taking money, you will need to make sure that you are registered in your state. Basically, you need to tell your state that you're in business. So you need to make sure that you're reaching out. You can reach out to an accountant. You can also reach out to a local lawyer. And also see if there's any Facebook groups that already have small businesses in them that you can reach out to and see if you can get any help there. Don't be afraid to ask a friend who's in business to let them know maybe what they need in their state. I can tell you right now that in the state of Wisconsin, if you're watching this and you're in Wisconsin, you don't have to have any type of formal licensure to be a photographer, but you do need to make sure that you're registered for taxes. So you need to get your registration done for that and things I'll kind of go into it. But another thing for legal stuff is contracts for booking agreements, sales agreements, model releases, and the Law Tog is a great place to start. But just know that, again, based on your state, the differences might be there. I can tell you in the state of Wisconsin, it's a 4-corner contract, meaning that it was able to uphold in court. I've been sued before, so that's the reason I'm telling you this. And the Law Tog's sales contract held its weight in court even before I had it reviewed by a lawyer. So now I've had all of my contracts reviewed by my lawyer. And what's nice about this is this will actually save you a little bit of money because it gives you kind of the groundwork, the ground wording to kind of get things started. And then you can also save money because the lawyer that you're going with isn't having to draft the contract from scratch. They basically have the basic ingredients and then they're just manipulating a few things. So you're going to save money because lawyers typically charge, not everybody, but typically charge per hour for things. Otherwise, you could also find some other lawyers that maybe might have, if they're small business lawyers, they might have some packages for you to kind of do all of this stuff in one flat fee. So just shop around and don't be afraid to ask for help. Ask for recommendations on Facebook. So talk with an accountant or attorney to see what type of business you should be, based off of what your dream is, where you want things to go. Does sole proprietor make sense? Does an LLC or limited liability or a corporation make sense for you? There's so many of these differences and a lawyer is going to explain it all to you and it's super helpful. Establish a DBA if needed. So if you're not using your own name for your photography business, the DBA is just a doing business as. So if you're Little Leaf Photography, you want to make sure that A, it's not trademarked so you don't get in trouble. And then B, you want to make sure that you're able to get your banking information that you're going to need. So in order to get a business account, these are all things that you're going to need to open up a banking account. An EIN number is basically your business's social security number. And yes, your business can acquire credit. So and this is going to be helpful for you to establish that credit. So I highly recommend you can still be a sole proprietor, but still get an EIN number and apply for one of those. You can do it in a matter of seconds. So that's super simple to do. And the reason why I recommend doing that is because you want to be able to start separating your business from you personally. The more you separate, the better protected you're going to be, which is why I don't love the sole proprietor, because there's so many ways that you could find yourself in a pickle. These are items that like I said, you're going to need to open up your bank account. An estimated budget for this can be anywhere between $400 to $1,000 to kind of get things started. So right now we're kind of racking up the total here to close to $2,000 to kind of get everything going. But if you're breaking this up per the first year of business, that would be anywhere between $33 and $83 a month. Insurance, you guys. Insurance will save your bacon. Again, I was sued, had insurance, was able to get refunded for the loss that I experienced and some attorney fees that I had as well. It's so important to have this. So before you start shooting anyone, even for no pay, it is imperative that you have proper coverage to protect yourself should someone get hurt during a session. So PPA, or Professional Photographers America, it offers equipment and general liability for a very affordable price. I'm talking like $200 for the year, or $27 a month. And they also give you tons of resources. I love the PPA. They're also there to have your back if you're having trouble with a client or something. They have legal advice that's included with your membership. So if you haven't become part of the PPA, I would definitely recommend it. It's a very small price of $27 a month, and you can get the added insurance that they offer as well, which I think equals out to about $20 a month and they make you pay it in full. And then the equipment insurance, like I said, is already included with that. I think it's up to $10,000, but you might want to double check. Don't forget to add or get cyber protection. You guys, cyber protection, you're more likely you're taking in personal information. So you're more at risk for a cyber attack. So somebody hacking into your social media accounts or hacking into your emails or in your CRM software than a fire or theft. So something, that a lot of businesses are not having coverage for is this right here. And it's so crucial because, again, you're taking in personal information and you do not want to have that liability. It's a huge risk. And again, it's still more likely that this is going to happen, so that cyber attack, than a fire or theft. So think about that. General liability and life insurance are essential for you. So what that means is should you get hurt and you can't work or you pass away, you will want to make sure that you have some coverage to help you, so you or your loved ones are not financially burdened. Again, this is something that, general liability is something that you need to have to cover. It's kind of like, think about it like in car insurance. General liability doesn't cover you, but it covers other people. When you get life insurance and not just general liability, short-term disability. Short-term disability and life insurance covers you. And you are essential to keep your business running. You are an expense. You are needed to run it. So you need to make sure that you're insuring yourself and others. So currently I pay about $400 a month for insurance for myself and my employees. But remember, I'm a lot farther ahead here with, having employees and other things. And that's why this is going to be so important for you to do your research and figure out what's going to be best for you. I can tell you, I didn't start paying this at the front end. I kind of went with the general liability route and just kind of, took a chance and took a risk. But I'm so glad that I have short-term disability and life insurance to know that if I were to break my arm, I'd still be able to get some pay and be able to take care of myself and my family. And then also if something were to happen to me, again, there would be some money there to be able to help take care of my family. So banking. It is important to keep your business transactions separate from your personal. Taking your legal papers into the bank to establish an account will be the best way to ensure you are protecting yourself and staying organized. I highly recommend working with both a bookkeeper and accountant to help you with your books. It's an investment. I know that. I wish I would have taken it up right away, though, to save so many mistakes and headaches and time. I mean, you guys, it would take me 8 hours longer than that, because I would never keep up with it during the week or during the month. So now this is the first year, and it's 2020, and I've been doing this for a while, but this is the first year that I've had both a bookkeeper and an accountant from the beginning of a tax year. And oh my goodness, it is so nice to have somebody on my back, even though it's annoying, but she's on my back and she tells me what she needs for me to be able to get my books done. And then her and my accountant are cross-checking my finances. She's giving me reports to tell me if my business is healthy, like where things are leaking, where I need to stop spending money or where I might have a budget to spend money. It is so important. And it's so great to have these people on your team. Read Profit First. before you open your account, if you can. If you're just brand new and you don't have a business account yet, this would be such a great step that I wish I would have known. But Mike Michalowicz does a great job of explaining how to create a profitable business and budget right away, and he walks you through how to do it, and it's super easy, and it's really something that's that I didn't understand about companies. Like, what is a profit share? Like, I don't understand what that means. So it's really great to get yourself educated and figure out how to start budgeting. And it's basically, if you guys have ever read any of Dave Ramsey's books, it's essentially the same thing as the envelope system, but with bank accounts and for your business. Because your business is variable, you have to do things based off of percentages. So research local bookkeepers and accountants. You can expect to spend anywhere between $100 and $350 a month on bookkeeping and accounting services. But you can afford it if you plan for it and you work it into your cost of doing business. Systems. Number 5 is about systems. The faster you establish systems, the faster you will profit. You need to work smarter and not harder. So get organized now. And if you're not organized, and again, we're in the middle of things being shut down and kind of slowing down. So this would be a good time to start doing this research and getting this stuff going. And if you're listening to this months and months later, it's still a good way to be able to draw back for a week and just take some time to just dig in and get this done. CRM just means customer relations management. It's how you take in your client's information. It's basically a digital filing system for yourself. So you can do that through 17 Hats, Dubsado, Honeybook. There's multiple different ones, but those are probably the top 3 that stick out most for photographers. I use 17 Hats. And that's where you can create workflows and checklists, for yourself to go through the experience. Back in the day, they would do this, they would have like a manila file. They'd open it up and, they would systematize the files to keep things organized and everything too. So this is also a way that you can email them, the steps that need to happen to be able to get them educated as well. So when you're thinking about creating workflows, I want you to walk through your client's experience. I want you to think about, okay, how do I get people in here? They get my free PDF if they give me their name and their email. And then, you're walking literally step by step of every touch point that you have with a lead to the point where they become a client, and then to the point where they are getting a product if you deliver product to them as well, and then following up with them even too. This will help create so much more ease for you. Storage folders. Those are something that you don't have to pay for those, but storage folders are something that you can put onto your system or your computer or your hard drive. And it's how you're going to keep track of your images or videos and back them up. So you want to create a good system to be able to, file them accordingly. And again, it's no different than if you were doing this by paper. So think about it in that way, where you're creating storage folders that maybe have, they're based on year. And then inside of the year, they have the name. Then inside of the name, you have the raw images and so on and so forth. You just keep going to make it easier for yourself to find your images and keep them organized. Online delivery software to deliver galleries to your clients. I use Pixieset. There's Shootproof, and there's a few other ones that you can deliver online galleries to. A lot of times photographers are doing either just straight up digital or digitals with a tangible product. I still give out USBs, but I don't find that people use them a ton. This is definitely more convenient. And let's see, USBs can also go out of style quickly. You can also do this through Dropbox if you don't want to do, something like pretty formatted like Pixieset, but you can use Dropbox, you can use Google Drive to deliver, folders to people too. And that is, $19 a month. So it's about the same price anyways. But a system budget, you're going to look at spending $100 a month. Or, some are more. It just depends. Okay, now that we've taken care of the banking, the legal, the insurance, how much is I got my equipment. Now, my friend, you are ready to start talking about a portfolio. Think about who you are. So portfolio is basically your work, because who you are is who you will attract. So what genre do you want to shoot? And think back to photographers that you admire and what you love about their portfolio. Once you know what genre, begin to make a list of who you want to ask to be in your portfolio. And this is where you can, still practice on them, everything that you want to take them through, because now that you have systems and everything else, you can practice the systems and work out some of the kinks before you launch your business completely. So you can take them through the emails that need to be sent, and you can, take them through the lead generation that you need to create and practice on them ahead of time. So that way you can see if there's any issues along the way or any hiccups of things not doing what they're supposed to do. So that's a really great way to do that. But when it comes to portfolio, I want you to think about who you are, and that's who you're going to attract. So if you have low value, if you are a Debbie Downer, chances are you're probably going to attract those people. So make sure that you're taking some time to self-reflect on yourself, and are you who you want to work with? That's the biggest question. Like, would you want to work with somebody like yourself? And if the answer is no, then you've got to do a little bit of inner work to be able to change some of your characteristics, and make that change. So that way, that's who you start attracting. Because I will tell you that if you're a Debbie Downer or you're a whiny Wanda, guess who you're going to be bringing into your place and who's going to be, coming to you. So just make sure that who you are is who you want to be. And I'm not saying you have to do that first before you can get started. I'm just saying, just be prepared. Just be prepared. Because I'm a high maintenance lady, and I don't mean like I have to have all these little things done. But when it comes to something like important to me, like photos, I have to have lots of, lists and tender loving care. And so that's honestly who I attract, is high maintenance people. Not because I don't like them. I actually love high maintenance people because I feel as though they've got their stuff together, and they really appreciate it. So anyways, number 7, CODB, or cost of doing business. These are the goods and additional services. So this is the cost of doing business is not the same as the cost of you just having your business doors open. Okay. So this is, to me, this is the actual physical things that you need for each individual customer to be able, I mean, I guess you can work in rent and other stuff like that if you have those things that you're taking care of. And I think that honestly falls underneath here. But for me, this is more about the product, versus the services that it takes, that I have to pay for. Let me reframe that. This is what you have to pay for when you have somebody come in. Now, the other things that I've talked to you about, like a bookkeeper, I have to still pay for a bookkeeper, and, I have to still pay for my camera equipment regardless if I have a shoot or not. These costs of doing business are more along the lines of, if I don't have a client or a customer, I don't have to pay for a hair and makeup artist per se, and I don't have to pay for tangible products because I don't have anybody that's buying them. So this is kind of more contingent on if you actually have people in your studio. The other costs that you endure are things that you have to pay for regardless if you're shooting anybody or not. It's just to keep your doors open at this point. And this is the cost that it takes to take care of the people once they come and they start doing business with you. So, will you create an experience? So again, some of these costs are refreshments. So if you have soda and water that you keep in your studio, those are things that obviously you don't need to have in order to keep your doors open, but they are something that you like to have for your clients to be able to have during their experience with you. Will you provide additional services? So will you provide a hair and makeup artist for the services? And again, you don't necessarily have to pay a hair and makeup artist if you're not having any clients in the studio or into, a session. Will you provide tangible products like prints? I personally believe you should, unless you're doing like more commercial work, etc. But you don't have to. So I do albums and boxes and wall portraits. I do all of that. So obviously there's a cost in that for me as well that I have to take into consideration when I'm pricing myself out. And will you want to include any special gifts? So do you want to be able to get them a gift card to Starbucks to thank them at the end of their time with you and send them like thinking about you cards, or, any of those things to kind of keep your clients and your current clients happy and engaged. So again, this can range So this will need to be a figure you add in once you know. So you might not know what these are because you haven't gotten that far in planning out your business, and that's okay. But I just want you to know that don't forget. Don't forget about the cost of doing business and to add it into your pricing structure, okay? Now, we've gone through a lot so far, but we're going to dig deep. So if you need a break, now is the time to pause, refill your cup of coffee, get a new glass of tea, get a glass of water, stretch. We've been pounding you, or I've been pounding you with tons of information. So now I'm going to pause for some math because I think it's so important for you to realize what the cost is going to be for you to have your bare necessities to run a photography business, and to make sure that you're charging yourself accordingly. And this is why it's so important, because some of these are variables, like my rent might not be the same as your rent if you're renting out a studio space, or my cost might not be the same to yours either, because my cost of living is different than your cost of living. And that is why it is so important, you guys, to not look at your neighbors and charge $10 less than what they're charging, because they might have a spouse who's, they're just doing this as a side gig, and they don't need to make the money. Or maybe they're just, like I used to be, and they think that that is what the industry standard is. And I'm telling you that it's not. Anybody who is charging, under, or making sales under $900 right now for their services, is below industry standards. And not to say that I don't have sales that are under that. I'm talking about averages. I'm going to get into what that means in a few minutes. But I just want you to know that there is a huge cost to running a business, and you need to make sure that you are part of that cost, okay? You can't just, run a business that pays for itself. That doesn't help you, and it's going to really burn you out, and you're going to lose your passion quickly if you do not have the ability to make sure that you're making some kind of profit from this. You're going to get angry and resentful, and I don't want that for you. So go take that break and come on back. And if you're still ready to keep going, I'm going to keep going. So at minimum, because based off of all the numbers that I've gotten so far here, I've went through this, I've ran the numbers, but at minimum, it's going to cost you. This is without cost of doing business. This was without the cost of you, etc. But at minimum, it would cost you $740, no studio rent or nothing, $742 a month to run a fully legitimate photography business. Now, some of you look at that number and you're like, oh my gosh, that's way too much. That's ridiculous. You don't have to pay that much. Again, I gave you some ranges, and this might fluctuate just a little bit, but it should kind of average out to being anywhere between $600 and $700 a month, keeping in mind that we've factored in your equipment here for the first year, and we've factored in your contracts here for the first year. So that is what we're looking at here. So we have not included some other important factors as expenses. It is absolutely necessary to pay yourself to run your business. So how much money do you want to be paid each month? And I'm going based off of a monthly concept here, just to kind of keep things simple, and to give you guys a monthly average of what you need to be making. So I'm going to just lay out some numbers here just for funsies. So let's say you want to be paid at least $2,000 a month, or what that equivalence is, $24,000 a year, which is actually poverty level here in the United States. If it's just based off of, your income alone, and if you have any family, this is pretty close to poverty level. But let's just start here anyways, okay? Let's just say that that's how much you need to cover your living expenses, like your personal mortgage and your personal car, whatever the case might be. This is what it is going to cost you a month. This means we need to take this number, the 2,000, and the 742, we need to add them together. So this means the cost of running your business is actually $2,742 a month, not just 742. And you're probably thinking to yourself, holy buckets, like that is like a huge number and way more than I thought. Or it's pretty low for you if you're more experienced in this business realm. For me, that's low. Anyways, what I want you to do is this is just, again, these are factors that can totally change. So don't take this as a certainty. I think I have a lot of people who are like, well, you didn't factor in this and you didn't factor in that. Look, Bob or Rhonda or Karen, like I know that these numbers can change. I am just trying to help the general population get some basic foundation here, and you can always adjust these percentages as you need to. But for the most part, this 30%, this is the amount that you need to keep in your business. 30% is how much that your business needs to keep for itself to pay for things, like your rent or all of those things that we were already, talking about. You need to cover those things. So 30%. Now you're probably thinking, well, out of 100, wait a minute, 100%. I mean, what's going on with the other 70? Well, the other 70 is the expenses to pay yourself, and you have to pay taxes. Sales tax, you have to pay federal tax, you have to pay tax. And you want to pay tax. Don't be afraid of paying taxes. If you're paying taxes, my love, you, my friend, are profitable. That's good. That's good. That means you're doing a good job, okay? Paying taxes is a good thing. It means you're doing a good thing. That is actually successful, unless somebody messed up your books, and then it's not great. Okay, so you're going to take this number, 2742, you're going to multiply it by 30. Let's just say it's 30 because that's the amount. Now this can change depending on what your expenses are up here. This can change, and you can always play with these numbers and have some fun. These are just numbers. It's not actually realistic, so it's fun to play around. But anyways, the numbers come out to $822.60. That is how much your average sale needs to be. Now, I want you to pause for a minute and think about what is an average sale. An average sale, and we're going to just talk about a monthly average, okay? An average sale is how many people bought a product or service from you in the month of, let's just say March. And you divide that number of people. So let's say you had $1,000 that you made in March before taxes and everything, but you received $1,000 and you had 10 customers. You divide the 1,000 by the 10, which means your average sale is $100. That is an average sale for you, okay? Now, out of those 10 clients, maybe one person spent $25 with you. Maybe the next person spent $500 with you. So you might have had some lower sales in there, and you might have had some really high sales in there, and you might have even had no sales in there, but you still served them. You still gave them your time. So you still gave them something. So that is your average sale, okay? That's what this number needs to be. That doesn't mean that this is what each person will spend with you guaranteed, but this is a goal that you should have in your mind of what you would like each person to be spending at the bare minimum with you on average, okay? So out of that sale, you can only keep, though, out of this, let's say every person is making this rock bottom sale with you here. You can, and I know that this is not rock bottom for everybody, but this is a low sale for me, okay? So you can only keep 30 to 40%, give or take, of this amount that somebody spends with you, because you have to save it for taxes and you have to run your business, which means out of that sale of $822, you only get to pay yourself $246 to $328, depending on which percentage you're picking to pay yourself. But you want to be paid $2,000 a month. And that is very far away from what you said you wanted up here, or what we hypothetically are talking about. So that means you need to either make a couple of things. A higher sale, meaning this number, you need to actually increase this. You're like, okay, I need to make this higher. And or you need to add in, more sessions to this. So you need to serve more people in order to get this average higher. So at minimum, without increasing your prices, you would need to shoot 6 to 9 sessions per month and have that average sale to make what you need. And remember, $24,000, and there's 52 weeks in a year, which means that's $461 a week, and you divide that by 40 hours, that is $11.52 an hour. If you don't change anything here, if you don't decide to shoot more clients, or you don't decide to increase this here, okay? So that, and you're a little bit confused right now, but basically how I figured in that number, because again, It's just basic division. How many times does 246 or 328 go into $2,000? 6 to 9 times. So that's where I got that number. Okay, it's just basic division. So you take the number here. You can take 246 and you divide it by 2,000, and that's going to give you a number. And it gave me about 6. And then the same thing here, where I took 2,000 and divided it by 328, and it gave me about 9. All right, that's how I got that factor in there. And then I just broke this down in your yearly, weekly, and then per hour. And that's how I got the $11.52. You can go work at Target for $13 an hour. Crazy. So take a deep breath. I know that was maybe a little hard. Rewatch it if you need to. But let's talk about some more math. I know it's like, oh, I don't want to talk about any more math, but it's so important to talk about math because the next thing we're going to talk about is marketing, and we need to know some math in order to figure out our marketing. Okay, so we have not factored in some essentials to consider. You will need to upgrade your equipment. I promise you that. You're going to want to also add more gear. I promise you that. You're also going to want to save for your retirement. Please do that. You're also going to want to take a vacation. Please take a vacation. You also want to invest in education for yourself. Remember, I told you that pre and post, go back to that slide, pre and post education, that is powerful stuff. And unless you want to shoot on site or outside all of the time, you're going to need to rent space. Work all of these costs into your budget and play with numbers. And again, remember, go based back onto the monthly. So for example, let's say you want to take a vacation, right? You want to take a vacation and maybe you want to go to Spain. I don't know where you want to go, but it's going to cost, how much is it going to cost you to take that vacation, or however many vacations you want to go? Factor out, what is the cost of that? Is it going to be $5,000 for me to go take this vacation? Well, then take that $5,000 and divide it by 12. That's how much you need to factor in for yourself to pay for your own vacation time. Okay. And you can do that. Now you can either make it be part of, your own personal income, or maybe just give yourself that much of a raise so you can make sure that you can take that. I mean, whatever the case might be, maybe you, instead of making $2,000 a month, then you'll need to make, let's just go off of easy numbers. $2,400 is what it'll cost you to take that vacation to Spain. So that means you're going to have to add in at least $200 extra for yourself to pay for that, for your, to make sure that you're paying yourself enough to take a vacation. And then you're also going to want to pay for your retirement. Again, factor in these costs. What is it going to cost you per year? Then divide it by 12 to get what it's going to cost you per month. So that way you're working in those expenses accordingly. Okay. Now, basic budget. Again, reading that Profit First book is going to be very helpful for you. But the basic budget in percentages, because you are a variable business, meaning you are not getting paid a flat rate of $30 an hour times 40 hours a week at a regular job. You're a business owner now, which means some months you might not make anything. And some months you might make 3 months worth of income for yourself. But because you have a variable income, you should be basing your budget based off of percentages. So here are just some basic percentages to get you started. Once you get going, you can start actually figuring out what your expenses are. And again, in that book called Profit First, he talks about how to do that. And so go ahead and read that if you haven't. But just to break it down for you real quick in just basic numbers here, let's talk about it. So again, your average sale is $822. Your monthly average, based off of that, again, because we're talking about your monthly average, and we said we needed 6 to 9 clients. So for 6 clients, your monthly average is $49.32. For 9 clients, it's $7,398. And then your yearly average, based again off of $822, is anywhere between $60,000 and close to $90,000 per year. Okay, that's how much your yearly average or numbers will be. So taking these numbers now, we're going to break them down into monthly and yearly of how much you're going to make, how much your overhead's going to be, how much paying your taxes will look like in rainy day savings and cost of doing business and paying for marketing. So paying yourself 30 to 40% of these numbers will mean that you're going to make anywhere between $14.79 and $29.59. That's after taxes. That's what you get to keep. And this is the yearly range here for you. Same thing here, taking these same numbers, multiplying them by these two percentages to get, so 822 times 0.20 to get 986 or 2219. So that's anywhere between 11,000 and 26,000 per year. And you just keep going down. A rainy day. Again, I cannot stress enough how important it is for you to save reserves for your business, because there will be months, you think about it, it's an emergency fund. It's not if a traumatic thing happens or a catastrophe happens, it's when. I mean, right now we're dealing with a global pandemic. It could have been a tornado that took me out, or took out my business or took out a town or whatever the case might be. And you have to think to yourself, how, you want to make sure that you can save enough to be able to, again, remember how much it costs for you to run your business, $2,700 a month. So if we were only saving, let's think about this for a minute, 5%, that means out of the $2,700 and in a yearly savings, I would only be saving enough to keep my business open and paying myself for 2 months, for 2 months at the most. Not even. So I would actually, be even stashing away a higher percentage and even taking less for yourself and moving some of these percentages down. Because remember, you can't have more than 100%. It's only 100. So once you know that you can only, every percentage of your budget, it has to equal 100%. So you can't, say, oh, I'm going to pay myself this, and then I'm just going to pay this, 15. It has to equal 100. Otherwise, it's not going to work. You've got to make sure, because you can't have any more than 100%. So if you pay yourself 25%, let's say, and then you are saving 10%, then obviously these numbers are going to double. And that's where you're going to see a little bit more of some reserve going on here. Okay. So then paying for your cost of doing business should be anywhere between 10 and 15%. So again, this is how much it should cost you per client, for their products and for the external services that you're giving to them. So this is, your budget that you would use to pay for the hair and makeup artist and for their product. That is where that number comes factored in. And then paying for your marketing really should be anywhere between 5 to 10%. It is so important for you to make sure that you've got marketing materials to be able to actually get people into your space or into your books, okay? So let's talk about marketing now. Again, if you need to take a break, please feel free to do so. And again, you might be thinking to yourself, holy crap, she's giving so much information away for free. And you're right, I am, because this is all stuff that I feel is so, so important. And it's just really, truly, honestly creating an experience for you to understand it, that this is not for chumps. It's not for chumps. It's not for people who just want to dabble here and there. And this is a serious decision that you're going to need to make. And that's why I'm trying to let you know this, so I can kind of weed out the weaklings. So if this ain't for you, then stop charging people and and stop being illegitimate and, get out of the industry, don't do this. And I mean that wholeheartedly. And some of you might have taken offense to that. And I just want to say to you, it's truth. It's hard love. You're going to do so much more damage to yourself and the rest of us by not doing it the right way. And more so for yourself and the people you serve too. And I mean that in a way of love and not in a way of shame or embarrassment. I was there and I got burned out. And I had to make that decision to either do this the right way or to keep doing it half-assed. And I didn't want to do that anymore. So anyways, let's talk about marketing though. Now that you've established a basic marketing budget and have a portfolio to sell, because remember step 6 was portfolio. So you've been building a portfolio, and it's important for you to have some images to sell. Like, you need to show your work to sell it. You cannot just be like, I'm opening up a photography business and you can't start charging for things without having a portfolio to sell. You have to show people what you can do. You have to be able to advertise it. So let's create that portfolio by thinking about some of these things that you want to do and you want to exude, the feeling that you want people to have when they think of you, when they think of your brand or your company. So think about things like fonts and colors and shapes. There are definitely some huge things that you can think of when you look at big box corporations. Places like Walmart, they have the little sun. Places like Nike, they have the swoosh. Places like Coca-Cola, all of them have very specific brand identities that you can recognize. And the key to a brand is consistency, meaning you're not constantly changing your fonts, you're not constantly changing your shapes and your colors and your logos. You want to pick something out that you're going to like for a while. Because if you're constantly rebranding all the time, then it's going to be really hard for people to get used to it and to get familiar with it. So you're definitely going to need a logo, or you can just start I just have a signature. I didn't even pay for a logo, to be honest, because I felt a signature was just so much more of the feel that I wanted to go with versus having a shape or an object for my business. It was more luxury to me to have like a cursive, beautiful handwriting than it was to have anything else. But you're going to need business cards, handouts, brochures, gift vouchers, things that you'll be able to use as talking points. You're also going to want to join things like networking groups and meetings and sign up for vendor events to be able to get yourself in front of people. In-person networking is so much more effective than any other type of marketing and networking available on the planet. When you get in front of somebody, you're able to express tone, you'll be able to express body language, so you're going to be able to sell yourself so much better on that. Also, if you're selling product, you're going to need samples that you can sell. You're going to want people to look, smell, touch, feel the products, so that way they can actually decide, oh, I really like this album, or I'm like, oh, I hate this, I don't like that, and they can figure it out. You're going to need somebody to help you with website design, or just paying for a website, for example, and social media profiles. So again, remember, we talked about a marketing budget in the last slide. Your marketing budget based off of the numbers that I gave you. And again, those numbers can fluctuate use them if you want to, but they can fluctuate. Your budget is only $246 to $493 a month. And so you have to remember that in marketing, out of that budget, you're going to have to design a logo, get business cards, that's your monthly budget for things. And the reason why it's so important to have a budget is it keeps you from making stupid mistakes. It keeps you from making stupid mistakes and signing up for things that you really can't afford. Because then if you take more than what you've allotted for your marketing budget, then you're going to have to steal it from another account or another envelope. You're going to have to steal it from your food envelope, or whatever the case might be, or from yourself. You're going to be stealing money from yourself to pay for your business expenses, and you don't want to do that. You want to stick to your budget, and then that's going to give you some great negotiation tips and tricks, because you're going to be able to say, look, my budget's only, I can only spend this much money. This is my budget. And so then it's going to empower you to be able to make some cuts and changes and get creative. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, me too. It's so overwhelming. It's so overwhelming. I'm constantly overwhelmed, and, that doesn't go away. I just want you to know that I don't want to lie to you. I don't want to sit here and say that running a business is never overwhelming and you're going to just do it and be so successful. You're going to fail. So many times you're going to fail, and it's good that you fail because it means that you're trying something new. I can tell you that for each success that I've gotten, I failed probably 100 times trying to make it work. And so it is overwhelming. And that's why it's so much easier to start with the harder stuff now, because everybody wants to jump to the fun stuff. You want to jump to the shooting and learning your lighting, and those things are fun, and they're so, so great and so, so valuable and absolutely essential. I'm not downplaying that at all. I just want you to know that if you're too focused on doing the fun things, you're going to end up getting yourself in trouble. You're going to kick yourself in the butt because you're going to make a mistake. If you don't have a system, you're going to lose files. Been there, done that. Ugly. If you don't have organization and you don't have these things set up, you are basically just playing with fire. And photographer to photographer, professional to professional, I do not want to see you do that. I want to see you succeed. I want to help you rise, because when one person rises, it's time to pay, it's time for me to pass that baton on to you. And that's what I'm doing here. And that's the whole purpose of this free course for you, is you don't have to do this alone. And so if my brand and my style and my teaching jives with you, then let's chat, because I want to be able to help you, and I want to be able to help you one-on-one, because it's so hard and this is the reason exactly that I feel that it is so hard to help photographers in a mass with the business structure. It's so much easier to talk to a mass of photographers or people who are interested in photography and talk about f-stops and ISO and shutter speed, because those are facts. Those are things that are not variable, really. I mean, there's obviously people can get creative with that and do what they want to, but it's, it's not the same hand posing for me as the same type of hand posing for the next person, obviously with some subjectability, because we're each our own individual artists. But for the most part, there's some very basic foundational things, and then you can always build from there. But when it comes to running a business, man, everybody's factors are so different. Your life looks completely different from my life. And to say, well, just increase the ISO, you can't just say that to somebody. You can't just say, oh, just fix this or fix that, not without knowing, more in depth about who you are, what you're trying to do. And it's so much more of an intimate process, which means you need to have a one-to-one person to be able to help you through this. And that's what I've done. I've done it for myself, and I want to give it to you too, to be able to have that help with actually running a sustainable photography business. Now, I can definitely give you all the ways to improve your photography, give you critiques and help you with that. But I would say don't just stop with me there. Don't put all your eggs in one basket when it comes to learning photography. I think that's the beauty that we're in right now, is that you can take bits and pieces from everybody and take and customize your own thing. But the one thing that I can say to you is that what I wish I would have had is somebody to help me with this hard stuff. This is hard stuff. It's not the fun stuff, but somebody to help me with the hard stuff. So that way, when it came time to have fun, I could feel like you could enjoy it more. You could savor it more, and you feel good about it. And it honestly helps build your self-confidence, knowing that you have the legitimacy, and it makes it easier to ask for the money, for people to pay you when you understand how much is at risk, when you understand how much time goes into it. It's so much easier for you to say, it's not just a click of a button, is it? It's not. It's never been. And I think that that's the misconstraint that a lot of photographers are missing out on. And I don't want to miss out on that anymore, and I want to help you. So, long story short, and this has been a long story, but I just want you to know that I really care about it, and I'm really passionate about it, and I want to help you. So I'm going to give you some options to be able to sign up with me. I'm going to give you the option of doing a la carte coaching, which means you don't have to sign up for 6 weeks of coaching. I want to make sure that we have the time to meet together and talk together, and just for me to figure out more a little bit about you, and take that time to do that and establish that first initial coaching session with you. And so I think that's really important, and you can sign up to do that. And that way I can tell you if I think we're going to be a good fit or not, and we can see if we're going to be a good fit. And then we can talk about maybe adding on some future coaching sessions with you to kind of keep the momentum going. And that way you can have an accountability partner and somebody who can help mentor you through some of the hard stuff. But I want to just open that up first, that you can always schedule an a la carte coaching session with me. And then once we do that, you and I can then create a plan customized after that, if you choose to and if you want to. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this was helpful and that you were able to take some great information from it and really make something out of it. And, I just wish you the best and hope that you reach out, and make sure you go to the social media pages that I have listed, which is Facebook and on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. I'm all over the place. But I hope that you're enjoying the fact that you have somebody who actually has your best interest at mind when it comes to the hard stuff first. Thanks for watching.